Hello and welcome everybody to our webinar about the Rotating Exhibit Network. I'm Jon Kay with Traditional Arts Indiana. And sorry about the little bit of problems we had at the beginning of the presentation, but we're back on track now. Hopefully you've hung around and you're there with us today. In this setting, I can't see questions, but there is a chat. If you put your chats in the type them in on your right-hand side of the screen, I'll be able to answer your questions at the end. Plus, I'll be giving out my email and phone number. People are more than welcome to contact us if you're interested in the Rotating Exhibit Network. Traditional Arts Indiana, the Rotating Exhibit Network, a free interpretive resource for Indiana public libraries. I should say a little something about our webinar series. We started this last year as a way to try to support the folk and traditional arts in the state, doing some outreach to some different organizations. And this is made possible by the workers here at Traditional Arts Indiana, which is based at Indiana University and is a partnership with the Indiana Arts Commission. The Indiana Arts Commission actually funded a technical assistance or a capacity building grant for us and to enable us to be able to do these workshops. And a lot of our programmatic money, especially for the Rotating Exhibit Network, actually comes from the National Endowment for the Arts. So I want to thank all of our funders before we get started. This program is going to focus on what we call our Rotating Exhibit Network, or around the office we refer to it as the RIN. This workshop, that we've left plenty of time to answer questions and those sorts of things at the end, as I mentioned, but I don't see it being a very long workshop. So what is the Rotating Exhibit Network? Well, it's about 8 years old, and it was an idea that I brought with me actually when I first started working here as a way to try to serve rural and underserved communities as well as urban communities throughout the state of Indiana. I looked at some of the programs that we were doing, and it was great that we were able to make meaningful impact into individuals' lives, but I wanted to make sure we were able to serve as many Hoosiers as was possible. And so we came up with this idea of creating these traveling exhibit panels that are single panel banner stands that kind of look like roller blinds that pull out of a base. And we loan those to libraries, and they hold on to them for a couple months, and they focus on the different aspects of Indiana culture and Indiana traditional communities. So you can see two of our older rotating exhibit panels here. The one is about Prince Julius and Diney. Prince was a wonderful drum maker who just passed away last year. But he was a featured artist in our Rotating Exhibit Network for quite some time. And he represented a large Nigerian community in the Indianapolis area. So we wanted to tell his story. So we created this panel with really nice artwork and text as a way of traveling that around the state. On the next panel next to him is Harold Klosterkemper, who is an old-time fiddler, bluegrass fiddler, contest fiddler over in the central western part of the state, in Greensburg, Indiana. Sorry about that. And really a wonderful, wonderful guy. And we did this rotating exhibit panel about him. Really nice photographs again. Visually attractive, nice interpretive text. Both of them have quotes from the artist on them. And in addition to these exhibit panels, we also did programs in libraries with them, and we're making these available to people. So the details about the program. First of all, I'll tell you, this is a panel that we did about the quilts of Bernice Inyart, who is an amazing quilter here in Indiana. But the details of the program are Traditional Arts Indiana, we call ourselves TAI, we loan these panels for free. That means if you're a public library and you want to join into our rotation, we're more than happy to try to work with you if we have space in our rotation to loan you these panels, and it won't cost you anything. The exhibits are self-contained, super easy to set up, like take less than 5 minutes from the time you unbox them, get them out of their case. They just pull up, and they're very simple to use. Each site around the state will receive the panel for 2 months, and we expect that while we have them loaned to you, that you do have them viewable to the public when you're open. So it's not something where you can just get it and use it if you want to. We do expect you to have it on display. And one of the cool things, and one of the reasons we've decided we wanted to partner with libraries, is that you can use the Interlibrary Loan Program, or the WHEELS program, to make this exhibit travel from one site to the next. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. But first of all, what are the exhibits about? You're probably thinking, well, the idea sounds great. We'd love to have some exhibits for our community, but what's in there? Well, for the most part, we try to focus on Indiana traditions. That is, things like persimmon pudding, or maybe some Hoosier artists. We've focused on, like Vicki Graber, who's pictured here, is a Mennonite willow basket maker from up in the Goshen area of Indiana. We've done panels on Larry Haycraft, who is a hoop net maker. We've even created one about the quarry blacksmiths here in the Bloomington area. The blacksmiths that made the tools for the quarry, for the cutters and the carvers. We often will make panels that actually explore aspects of community, like the Pekin 4th of July celebration, the oldest continual 4th of July celebration down in the Washington County, or the Amish quilt auction that happens every year over in Daviess County. We've looked at musical traditions, like the mariachi ensemble, Mariachi Zelaya, who we've done some programs at libraries around the state too. And Manjit Singh, a Sufi harmonium player from Indianapolis, or from down in the southern part of the state, Grease Gravy, that features Stephen Dickey, who was the famous Lotus Dickey's son, playing traditional fiddle music from down in southern Indiana. So we really try to create panels that talk about the culture and the traditions of our state. There has been, because we've been doing this, like I said, about 8 years now, there has been an evolution of design. So you maybe have seen some of our older panels, which I think were really nice. They were colorful, and they had some nice photographs and stuff in them. But they also we were limited by our technology and our resources at the time. And over the years, we've slowly made our panels more and more attractive. We've hired professional photographers to actually design, to work with us to photograph artists, so we present them in the best possible way. We work with the artists side by side, make sure that we're representing them in a way that they want to be represented. And then we work with people who are informed about graphic design, but also are sensitive and knowledgeable about cultural communities and traditions and how to present those. And so we really feel very confident that what we're presenting to the public is really something that the artist can be proud of and the state can be proud of, and is not necessarily, it's not stereotypical. We're trying to tell individual stories and particulars about our state. So how does it work? You've heard me mention this idea of rotation. Sometimes what happens is someone will say, oh, I really want to get that exhibit about the Grease Gravy Band, and they'll call us, and I say, well, we really don't loan out individual panels. We'll sometimes work with the library if there's something particular that they need. But for the most part, you join a subscription service, a free subscription service, but nevertheless, you join into this. And what happens is you become part of a rotation schedule, a rotation unit. And so if you're the Jeffersonville Public Library, you'll get sent a panel, and you'll hold on to it for 2 months. And then when it comes time for you to send it back, you don't send it back to us. You actually will send it on to the next library in the rotation, which would be the Hancock County Public Library, or at least it was when this rotation was made up. And it keeps going like that. And so there's 5 or 6 libraries in each rotation, and you just send to the next one. And so once we send them out, you're not having to pay the shipping to ship it back to us. You're just loaning it to the next library. You'll send, if you're Jefferson County, you'll get from Hancock County. If you're Jefferson County, you're going to, or Jeffersonville, you're going to get a panel from Lawrenceburg. And that's the way it works. It's this rotation. So once we send it out, we don't put our hands back on until the end of the rotation at the end of the year. And then we bring them all back in, we create the new rotation, and we send out new panels. We literally have dozens of exhibit panels now that loan to libraries around the state. So for the most part, once you join the rotation, it's very rare that you'll get a repeat panel unless you request one. You'll get something new every couple of months. And so you can see how that works. Here's a little schedule of the exhibit rotation. You've got the sites across the top. We have panels about a ukulele builder, a basket maker, tamburitza builder, old-time musician, persimmon pudding maker, African-American quilting club, and all of those, that's the whole year's rotation. But then they move one to the next through the system. Well, you're probably thinking, well, that sounds really great. I'm interested in that. But there's another component to this also. Once you get into the rotation, you're part of an exclusive club, you might say. And we try to work with many of those libraries to create, to offer some public programs, depending upon our funding. Each year it varies the amount of funding that we receive from the National Endowment for the Arts, or whether we receive funding from them or not. And when we receive those funds, we reach out to libraries and we try to do public programs in them. And being based at Indiana University, one of the great things that we have here is the fact that we have so many really good students, graduate students that are studying folklore that come from all over the world, quite literally, that want to get experience working with artists and doing programs. And so we collaborate with them, and they become facilitators often at doing some of these public programs. I also will show up and do programs at various places. Like here's a picture of me doing a program with rag rug weaver Dee Neerman, who's a 4th generation, I believe, rag rug weaver from down in Jackson County, Indiana. So we'll do these public programs. When we host a public program, it doesn't cost you anything. We pay the artist, we come in, we do the public program. However, we realize that sometimes we don't have any money to do the public programs. Sometimes we have just a little bit of money, and it doesn't go as far as we would like for it to go. So one of the things we've come up with is the Traditional Arts Indiana Public Program Handbook, and that's a free PDF download from our website. Libraries are encouraged to grab a hold of that, download it, and look and see what public program offerings are available. And you can start contacting artists to do public programs in those, in your library. Now, Traditional Arts Indiana has a very strong ethic of paying the artists that we work with. Many of these artists are not doing it for a living, but they do incur costs with doing these public programs. And so I want to make sure that that folks realize, don't just call these people and say, I want to get you to come to our library and do a program. There are guidelines for each of the artists in the public program handbook on how much to pay them. Featured on the cover of this, the 11 and 12 handbook, is Danny Tipman. Danny Tipman is a member of the Miami tribe of Indiana, as well as the Miami tribe of Oklahoma. And she knows a lot of information about traditional Miami herbs and lives up in the northeastern part of the state. And she does just great programs, especially good programs for kids, children. She brings in a wonderful display and is really, really exciting. So even if we're not working directly with you, you'll have access to lots of artists who represent the traditions and heritage of our state. But wait, there's more. I kind of feel like I'm selling Jinsu knives here. There's a news flash. We just found out this last week that we received funding from the National Endowment for the Arts to do an exciting new bicentennial project, which means we're going to up the ante a little bit on our traveling exhibit program. We're going to take some of the information that we're putting together for a large exhibition and make that available to libraries through the rotating exhibit network. But we're also reaching out first to our libraries and state park partners to try to find sites for the 2015-2016 year to host the traveling exhibit in. Basically, it'll be 12 panels that will travel, and we will bring artists to come in and do demonstrations, and we'll host public programs around that. So it's almost like a traveling little festival. So if you have a community event or a community celebration that you think that this would be a part of, and the library wants to reach out to us to partner with you on that, we're more than happy to collaborate if time permits. So the exhibit will start in the fall of 2015, but we're going to be collecting dates and partnerships right after the first of the year. We'll feature the work of artisans from throughout the state. Many of the artists that I talked about in this webinar will actually be featured in it. And as I said, TAI is looking for partners to host the exhibit and the programs that will come along with it. I will say that we're going to probably do very soon a webinar all about the Bicentennial Exhibit Project to kind of answer questions that people may have about this special, exciting new project. So I've run through this very quick because I know people are watching this on their lunch hour. But if you have any questions, feel free to contact me. I'm going to switch back over to the webinar, but before I do that, I want you to make sure you have a chance to write down the address and our phone number, 812-855-1458, and traditionalarts@indiana.edu, or you can go to our website, www.traditionalartsindiana.org. And we're really easy to find. If you just type in Traditional Arts Indiana in any search engine, we're going to pop up probably the first thing you're going to have there. So I'm going to switch back over and see if there are any questions that are in the Google chat. Okay, whoop, let me go back to this again. Okay, I think we've got this here. I'm going to click on the Q&A and see, are there any questions that are out there? Looks like somebody says congratulations on the project funding. Thank you, Chad, for doing that. Do we have any other questions that are out there? Well, if there are no more questions, I want to thank everyone for being part of the webinar today. This will be archived on our Traditional Arts Indiana website, and hopefully we'll be hearing from you. Feel free to contact me if you have any questions. Have a good day. Bye.